We're live now, so it's a little late. So, this is your theme music. You can't do words for one. We're getting sued by the second. Lawyers are on the phone right now calling us because you're doing copyright infringement. So, um, I don't know. I shouldn't say this, but I'm out visiting California because Peggy is so excited that she's seen water for the first time come out of the sky and had no idea what that sensation was. But I know this is pushing the limit, but we are live from Peggy's bedroom. How do you like? There we go. That's the truth. We are live from Peggy's bedroom.
That's
so out visiting California with some friends and family, and got the, all joking aside, got the fun of coming to see one of my favorite people, who's going to be our guest tonight. No, I'm just kidding with you. So I'm going to bring her in. Meg, how are you doing? And now we're going to have to, I did this before, just so you know. We're going to have to be this close. And she said, Peggy said, not unless you brush your teeth and go buy a packet of Altoids right now. So
I said, as long as the lights don't start dimming and I can't see what's going on.
I had an onion flavored Tootsie Pop on the way down here, and she's not happy with my decisions.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, Meg, I'm so glad you're here. And I know this has been a big week, but I'm going to kind of scoot in the background and make funny faces behind Peggy, but I'll let you take it. This is a big week, though.
Yes, here we go. Here's Meg's book. It came out, 2 days ago, right? 2 days ago.
17th, yep, on Tuesday.
Intoxicating Lies.
Intoxicating Lies. And it is one of the best books out there. So I'd love to hear about your week, maybe the week leading up to it. Just tell us how this week was and how your book came out and all the things, like being second, number 2 on the first day. So just go for it.
And what do you do with all those books that are in your garage now that you that got you at number 2? No, I'm just kidding.
First of all, thank you guys so much for having me. It's so good to be back with both of you. You are just so much fun to talk to, and it's really just a joy to be here. Yeah, so Tuesday, it was a very surreal day. I had a couple of podcasts that dropped, and the book appearing at everyone's houses and in bookstores. And then the very next day, the book literally hit me over the head because I talk about in the book the limiting beliefs that we have. Mm-hmm. And I have to be honest, I didn't expect it to be number 2 on Amazon on new releases in alcoholism and recovery. And my publisher called me and said, now you can say you're a best-selling author. And it just was one of those moments where I never even thought that it could go to that height. And I thought, here, once again, the book hits me over the head. The book has been one of my greatest teachers. Many of the things that I've written in the book about losing, or being a recovering perfectionist and a chronic achiever and overfunctioning and people pleasing. So, it's not really about the rankings, although it's an honor to be with those authors. I feel humbled. The real success for me actually happened prior to the launch, where a woman wrote to me who got a signed copy from my inventory before the launch and said, your book gave me the permission to heal and to let me know that I was more than enough. And she had ripped out the first page where I had signed that to her and put it in her journal. And I thought, you know what? Mission accomplished. Mm-hmm. That was why I wrote the book. And I was talking to my sister, I was crying over it. And I said, it really, if nothing else happens, that it's a success. Right. And that was before the launch. Yeah. So, but it's been surreal. It's just, you work so hard, Peggy, working on a book takes years, and the publishing process is tough. And then you've got to market it. And so
I think that should be your next book, because you single-handedly did all this marketing, and you're a freaking genius. And we're so proud that yes, you're Enneagram 1, and I don't know why the number 1 isn't like on your wallpaper, because you are a perfectionist. But boy, I'm not kidding when I say that it would be great if you wrote about your process, because
How long was it? What was the start? I want to do this to today.
Well, it's funny. It's funny that you say first of all, because I have a marketing background, and so I'm in pharmaceutical sales. And today I was telling my manager about the success of the book, and he was like, "Well, who's your marketing person?" And I said, "Me, myself, and I." It's like the Snoop Doggy. I don't know if you've seen that video. I want to thank myself because of myself. It's a lot of work. I mean, I was making reels at my kids' sporting events and then, in between sales calls. And, but the process itself really just started from day one and much like Peggy's book, it was journaling how I was feeling and what I was going through and just really staying curious through the process. But in Sober Sis, in our group, I was kind of the podcast junkie because I live in my car in sales. So I love to listen to podcasts. And so I would get on Marco Polo with the group and say, "Oh my God, you have to listen to Rachel Hart's blah, blah, blah episode about, does alcohol solve an emotion?" And then I would come on the next day, "Oh my God, you have to listen to Annie Grace," And so I was just constantly telling them this. And then I was reading my journal to them and they said, "Meg, you really need to write a book about this." And I had always had that invitation laid upon my heart. From God, I felt like there was a book inside of me, but I never knew what it was going to be about. And once I finished writing it, it was like, well, I don't have a platform. I'm not a sobriety coach. I am not a public speaker. How am I going to launch this into the world? And I felt very overwhelmed, and the imposter syndrome came flooding back in again of, who are you? You didn't go to school for this. You're not published in all these magazines. You're just an ordinary mom. And it just was those little baby steps, much like in the alcohol-free journey, of just doing the next right thing. And every time I posted, I was shaking. I was like nervous, like, how is this going to be accepted? And I've never done anything like this. And I made mistakes along the way, but I was so fortunate to surround myself by empowering women such as yourself, Peggy, who were cheerleading me along the way and saying, "Do this, don't do that." My content editor, I remember when I had first reached out and I hadn't finished writing the book, she said to me, because I said, I don't know if I'm a writer, maybe I should hire a ghostwriter. I just want to get this message out to women. I really feel like there needs to be a book on gray area drinking. And she said, "No, Meg, you are a writer." And it was like I needed to kind of hear that. But then the book took me on this total cathartic journey of learning how to trust myself and step into my inner knowing and step into my worth. And everything along the way was like, you're going to have to learn to let go of the people pleasing, right? And all the things that our hustle culture says is success, because I can't write about these things and not actually walk out those things. And so why the rankings are wonderful, like I said, the true gift and the true success for me is the reviews and the feedback that we hear. And I'm sure, Peggy, you feel the same way when someone tells you it's changed their life, or it's helped them in their journey, or it's pushed them along. That's exactly why we wrote the books, right? Yeah. And so it's just been this magical journey. And if you had told me 4 years ago, Meg, when I was at the height of my gray area drinking, you're going to write a book, or you're going to quit drinking, you're going to write a book about it, and you're going to actually sell it in a liquor store, I would have thought, you are crazy. But that happened.
I know. I mean, I think about it. It's such a short time,
it just was.
And, again, I think, I was in Maui in the end of December, and I saw this gorgeous woman. She was so beautiful. And I'm like, and I thought, because she had this perfect tan, she was just gorgeous. And I thought maybe she thought I was like stalking her. So she came and she started walking over to me, and I'm like, oh shit, was that obvious? Because she was beautiful. And she goes, "Are you Peggy Cooney?"
Oh my God, what a moment.
Yes. And she said, you changed my life with your book. I mean, that probably will never happen to me again. But
like, I'm girl crushing on you, and you're
it was just amazing. So it is very true. It is you changed my life. I read myself in your book. I read myself in your pages.
Yes.
And your book is so organized and so well done. Who should buy your book?
So it's really for, I mean, anyone, but it's probably, I will say, mostly geared towards women. I have had some men read it, and they've said, I'm, so glad I read this book. It helped me see everything that my wife is doing and how she's putting her needs last and all of us first, and how she's escaping in wine. And now I understand her better. But really, moms and women of any age that are trapped by gray area drinking. And that's a vast, large category on the alcohol use disorder spectrum. And it's an epidemic for women.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting, Meg, is that I think of someone with a drinking problem. I think of myself, who drank over a case of beer a day. It's like, so how can I look at it and say, how can a woman that has a couple of glasses or 3 glasses, how can that even be a drinking problem in my mind? Because I was talking in the 20s to 30s every day. And it's like, if I could just drink 3 glasses of wine, I'd probably still be, I'm joking, but I'd still be drinking.
Well, but you see, because it's a spectrum, right? So my story may be a lighter shade of gray and yours is a darker shade of gray, but we're still in that gray area drinking. You didn't need a medical detox. We've talked about that. The end stage drinking needs a medical detox. And then you have Aunt Mary, who, will have a glass of wine on her birthday, won't even finish it, maybe a toast of champagne at a wedding, and that she truly can take it or leave it. Then everybody else in between, right?
Hey, I got a question for you from Lindsay. How did the conversation go when you asked to have your book in the liquor store? Talk about that. It's so cool because you live where our president lives.
Yes, I live in Delaware. So I actually went for New Year's. No, actually, I think it was for the holidays. It couldn't have been New Year's. It was in the holidays, like before maybe Thanksgiving or Christmas, to make a reel. And Frank's Wine in Wilmington, Delaware has the largest selection. I mean, he blows Total Wines out of the water with all of the NAs. He actually has an NA bar set up in his store. And so I went in and I was like, oh, I'm going to make this fun reel. So here I am in his store, like videotaping myself and doing all these things. And he comes over to me. He's like, can I help you? And I said, oh, yes, I'm sorry. I should have told you before I made the reel that I'm an author, a local author, and I've written this book. And he was like, no way, that's awesome. He's like, we should do an event together. I was like, do you want to do a book signing? And he was like, yeah, we're going to get a food truck and live music. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. So I go the day of the book signing, and there's like a burger truck. They've got these people playing music inside Frank's Wine. And then Athletic Brewing is there doing free tastings of Athletic Brewing. And then there's a bartender there named Nicole, who she works for Frank's Wine. She quit drinking, and that she's the one who really created this whole section within his store. She's making non-alcoholic bellinis and spicy non-alcoholic margaritas. And so I didn't even put down my bag, and just swarms of people were coming in. And this is January 7th. And I did not come up for air till that was at 11 a.m. And at 4 p.m., thank God my mom came in. I was like, I need to go to the bathroom. I haven't had anything to drink and I'm starving. And so she was like, I was like, can you just man the table for a second? But it was beautiful because we had everybody from people who were coming in to buy alcohol and we're like, what is going on here today? And we're curious. And instead of buying alcohol, tried the non-alcoholic Athletic Brewing and was like, oh, this is actually tastes just like beer. And we're curious. And I had this like one girl that came up and she's like, I just quit drinking, like looking for anybody to know, and I was like, it's going to be okay. And all the way to this guy named Jimmy who had been sober for 40 years. And I was like, you want to buy my book? He's like, yeah, I want to buy your book. I'm like, all right, Jimmy, you know, like, and everybody in between, people who were trying dry January, people who were doing, I guess, what's now called damp January, testing it out. You know, it was great because it was all different kinds of people. And what better place, right, than the liquor store?
Maybe we should shift gears when we come out next year and Frank can host Sober in the City.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
We should talk about it.
We do need to talk about it because he has an extra side on his building that may actually be possible. That he's taking over.
Yeah. I had this morning, I was a friend of mine was talking about the fact that because I know you have a 16-year-old and she has a 16-year-old, and she was talking about the fact that they went off for the weekend and they had a tournament, a basketball tournament, and the coaches were drinking at the hotel and the parents were drinking. And this particular mom, she's just one of the neatest people on the planet. And she stopped drinking. I think she's three years, maybe 3 years sober. And her daughter is the one that asked her to stop drinking. She said, Mom, you know, you can't be my mom anymore unless you stop drinking. But at this basketball tournament, we call them lobby lizards. That's kind of mean, huh? But people were drinking and having their charcuterie trays out. And her daughter, who asked her to stop drinking, leaned over and said, Mom, if you want to have one, go ahead.
Just breaks my heart. And it just shows you how hard this journey is, right? That there's always going to be that pressure, and that our kids are watching us. We're modeling, you know, how are we going to react to that kind of pressure? And it's in their faces and in our faces in such subliminal ways. I was watching a movie with my 13-year-old son, and the psychologist in the movie was having a hard time at work. And every day they showed her in the movie coming home from her job, and the first thing she would do was open the refrigerator and pour herself a glass of wine as, you know, quote unquote, without saying anything, the solution to a hard day. And my son looked at me and he said, Mom, she needs intoxicating lies. And I thought, oh my God, he gets it. But it was so subliminal. I didn't even really pick up on it. I mean,
but Meg, we saw that, most of us, or a lot of us, saw it from our parents.
Yes.
We saw it from every commercial.
Yes.
You know, every movie, television show, and then we even saw it with our own actions.
Yes.
That was the message. There were no other alternatives shown to us.
Yep.
And it was glorified.
Right.
So by the time I even began to understand there's a flip side to this coin, I was, you know, hook, line, and sinker.
Yep. I mean, that's how my book opens up, is me as a little girl. My mom would just dress me up in my best Jessica McClintock dress, and they would have cocktail parties. You remember those? You know, with the big pilgrim.
Best parents used to dress him up in Jessica McClintock.
I've got the picture. I've got the pictures.
Nice velvet dress, and
with the little ribbon up to the neck.
Right.
It was the curls that did it.
Your best pilgrim look. Yeah, and I remember at a very young age serving hors d'oeuvres to my mom and dad's guests. No fault of their own, right? This is an old conditioned belief. And people pleasing, like, right? Like, hi, learning how to talk. And this is why I think I'm great in sales, because I had to talk to these adults very young, and I'm serving them hors d'oeuvres. And what I'm doing is I'm watching everybody connect with all this alcohol. And, you know, my dad would travel all week, and this was how they let off steam. My mom was basically like a single mom with 3 kids. And so from a very early age, and again, no fault of their own, but this was like how you connect, how you have fun, how you let off steam, how you impress other people. And we ran in this kind of, you know, country club scene where they were either going to a cocktail party or we were having one. And the amount of money that was spent on alcohol, my dad's like, you probably wouldn't have had student loans if we weren't doing this, so much.
Yeah, I mean, I even know that for me, like being at 10 years old in our family, we could be the martini garnish maker. Olive, an onion, and an olive on a toothpick, and you were
like the bartender at 10.
You aspired to be that in our family.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, I know, and we don't. Again, no fault of our parents. They fell into these lies.
Right.
Like Jeff said, we weren't told any differently, and back then it was so stigmatized. I mean, I still find when I talk about my book and it being about gray area drinking that the older generations, like, I don't understand. Are you talking about being an alcoholic? Like, they still put it in that black and white drinking, that box. And I'm like, no.
I mean, it's not older people that do it, Meg. I mean, I think I told you last time we talked, I was, at my cabin. Sorry, neighbor, I'm busting you out. But I don't think they'll be listening. But
he was out on your porch or on the porch.
No, not this neighbor, out on the cabin. And they said, "Oh, what's your book about?" And I said, "It's about recovery." And right away she said she bought 2 books. So I have to forgive her. But she said, "Oh, I have a bunch of cousins that are alcoholics." And I'm like, "Great, that's so nice. I'm really glad."
Yeah, I mean, they're just that was ingrained in their heads, right? You went to, and AA was the only option, right? And now there's so many different ways to get sober, and there's just so many different shades. And that's why, I mean, again, no judgment, right? Like, all the stories are important and all of the things are important. But if we don't start talking about gray area drinking, what happened to me is I was just like a social drinker, but then I had 3 back-to-back life events that happened that shifted my social drinking to, like, just maybe on the weekends to a medicinal drinking of every night, because I could not handle those 3 back-to-back events in my life. I didn't know how to handle my nervous system. I was overwhelmed. I was stressed.
You're sitting this close to me right now.
You can't see below.
Rubbing your back.
She's handed me 38 mint certs just since she's just full of love,
Oh,
one of the Facebook users said, every occasion in our family, birthdays, holidays, funerals, graduations, family reunions, involved alcohol. And even the punch was spiked at baby showers, right?
Right.
Of course, that baby showers are a reason to drink, in my humble opinion.
I mean, play dates, you name it. People, I mean, there's any reason to drink, really. I mean,
you name it,
you name it. It's game, it's game on, and it's just, it's everywhere you turn. And I didn't realize how many messages were coming into my brain on a daily. Like, I used to listen to, I won't say the radio station, but a country singer, sings a lot about alcohol, and we'll just say No Shoes Radio. And so I could not listen to that because all of those messages of pro drinking, when I was early on in my alcohol-free journey, and I was like, I can't hear this. Like, I cannot hear that this is okay. I have to start putting the right messages into my mind, and reframing. And that was following sober sites and podcasts and things like that, because 40 plus years of those messages coming in takes a long time to then unlearn.
Well, we celebrate the actors that are the heavy drinkers that held it together. It's like they did it. Wow, they achieved this thing. And what is sobriety, or is the word quitting? It's I failed at drinking. It's a failure thing. That's
interesting word. Yeah, play on words. You're right.
Instead of celebrating that I beat this thing, I'm stronger than most because I was able to. With the same people that you're being celebrated for. No, I'm proud as hell of what I've accomplished.
Absolutely, you're a badass, and you're not the problem. Alcohol is.
Right. And it really is true. We talked about it before we went on live. Was that we had some pain going on, and so drinking isn't the problem. It was the solution for so many of us, and
And all it did was freeze it, and you woke up and you felt like crap, and the problem was still there the next day.
Yeah. Oh, and worse, because you don't know who you offended and all of that. So.
Every day that I drank was a day further away from another coping skill. So, yeah. I mean, I had 25 years, 30 years of that I had forgotten a normal coping skill.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, well, Jeff, you're going to deal with this problem. Well, I got to go back to when I was 19. And obviously I didn't do a very good job of it, so that was the only thing I knew.
Well, and it's not our fault. We don't have like an earth school to teach us these things, of how to do breath work or meditate and all the ways to regulate our nervous system. We're just not taught it really. I mean, it's becoming a little more mainstream now.
Yeah, we're bringing mindfulness in.
Mindfulness. And, I see kids doing yoga now and I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing, but there wasn't even a lot of discussion about gray area drinking in 2019. It was like Jolene Park,
right?
Jen Couch and Carrie Schweer were like, and Heather Lowe on Ditch the Drink. Like there was very few people that were actually discussing that term. And I was like, oh, that's me. Because like you said, Jeff, I could say, oh, I'm not so, I'm not drinking that much. I don't have a problem. And that's not true. I did, I did. It was in control of me.
Yeah. You can look on the internet anywhere to justify your drinking or see somebody that drinks that you think drinks more than you. It doesn't really matter. And we know the lie is that if it affects your life, it's not good. And Canada just came out with 2 measured drinks for a week. That is the max.
Go get another skirt.
We can talk next. And they're saying that no amount of alcohol is healthy. And I can't believe our northern neighbors are doing that. It's freaking awesome. And Delsey Johnson 9 years ago talked about this. So I'm hoping her book gets a surge too. Sheila said drinking was the worst coping skill we just didn't know, and that's so true.
And that's why we have to not have the shame that goes along with it, because we've been duped and it's not our fault.
Yeah, but Meg, what I was trying to say before I got elbowed in the ribs violently. And I told this, I got a new primary care doctor and she's younger. And I said, you explain, because I had such bad anxiety and panic attacks. And I said, the problem you're going to have is everything that's prescribed. Now, I didn't realize alcohol was causing it. So that's a whole nother topic. But as far as for treating it, these magic pills will start working in about 2 weeks and you'll start to feel relief. Okay, I got to drive home and I got to go to get to the grocery store. Let me tell you what will work instantly is sold right around the corner, and it works well. And I said, that's what you're up against, because it's quick, it's available, it's fast, and it's cheap, and it's instantaneous.
Kind of like you.
She's just wishing the Altoids were instantaneous. You know what? I do not have bad breath. This is not.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, I just want to get a little bit.
And your Christmas tree lights are still out. You have a Christmas tree lit outside.
That's because I went to Hawaii and I need to have a whole month of Christmas.
It's almost into January.
So, yeah. So getting a little bit on the serious side, I know you have a 16-year-old, and I noticed that in a lot of our meetings, people, women especially, not so much men, are talking about it, but that so much of our drinking caused us to really have risky behavior. And I know you have such a beautiful, that's a really stupid word, a really great paragraph about the truth of that. And I was wondering if you might want to.
Yeah. So in my book, I do talk about, I had 2 sexual assaults that both involved drinking, and we're impaired. We can't make good decisions. And I blamed myself. I blamed the drinking, I blamed that I drank too much, and it is not my fault. And it was a complete violation. And in hindsight, I had lots of shame and secrecy around it because I felt very shameful about it. And I want to speak about it now because I think it happens. I mean, I know it happens more often to women than we discuss. And so at the end of my chapter about this, I'm just going to read some statistics here from the American Addiction Centers. It says at least 50% of student sexual assaults involve alcohol. And mine was in college, one of them. I had two. Approximately 90% of rapes perpetrated by an acquaintance of the victim involve alcohol. About 43% of sexual assault events involve alcohol use by the victim. 69% involve alcohol use by the perpetrator. In 1/3 of sexual assaults, the aggressor is intoxicated. And I know that was true for both of the incidents that happened to me. And it really spun me into an over-functioning and needing to be in control of everything because I didn't have any control over my life.
And I just want to add something to that too, Meg, is that, we often, and this, I'll probably get a lot of hate mail for this, but also, there are definitely aggressors, sexual aggressors, but guys get drunk too, and they make really risky decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So, it affects women a lot more in a way. But the other part is that I'm sure a lot of men that have had too much to drink and actually get aggressive, that's not really part of their personality either. So I don't know why I brought that up. Victoria Rigby Victoria, I just murdered her name. She said that this Enneagram 5 is at the airport headed home from a 5-day global sales meeting and 5 days of watching people drink. But she's headed home to an Amazon delivery of your book.
Oh, I love that. I just want to give her a shout out because I'm in sales and I know what the 5 days of a sales meeting are like. It's almost frowned upon if you don't go to the bar afterwards. Mm-hmm. And I just had, I think, my 3rd or 4th sales meeting, and I was the only one who wasn't drinking at the table. And I ordered a non-alcoholic beer, and everybody was kind of curious. And the 2 girls that were sitting near me, one of them leaned over and she said, my ex-husband is an alcoholic. I think my mom is too. I would love to read your book. And, I was telling them about my book. And then the girl across from me, she had actually poured water into her wine because we're only allowed to have 2 drinks now. The times are changing where it used to be a free-for-all, like, open bar, drink as much as you can. So I kind of thought that was interesting. I'd never really seen anybody do that. And she said, "Oh, I'm trying to make it last longer." And I thought, wow, that's really in control of you, right? If you can't even have just plain water, you need to have the water in your wine. So she said, "Can I get a copy of your book?" And I said, "Sure, I'm here for you." And, you just never know when you're going to be the one person sitting at the table that may inspire somebody or somebody else is struggling and you help them. And you just don't know because it's so in the sales culture, it really is so normalized and frowned upon if you're not drinking. And I hope that the companies get away from that.
If you're in the first responder, which is the other side, and we have so much secondary trauma from all the stuff that we see that we have no place to put that trauma, and it goes into a bottle. So, again, going back to, one of the comments in the chat around the fact that, it becomes our solution to the things that we bury.
And I think first responders and healthcare providers and people who are in high stress jobs, they've fallen into this gray area. I mean, with Jeff, when you were talking about your primary care, I just got a physical, and I love checking off that now that I don't drink anything. But I said to her, she said, "How's it going?" And I said, it's going really well. And I said, I have to tell you something. When I was drinking and I was in my gray area drinking, I remember her saying to me, "This is impacting your sleep. you've got like, because I would be like, oh, I'll have some wine at night to deal with like all these things that were going on in my life. And she's like, it's actually making your sleep worse. And she went through the whole everything with me, right?
Do that.
So I didn't want to hear it though. I had my blinders on. I was stuck in my gray area drinking. But I will tell you that when my sleep started to improve early on in my journey, whose voice did I hear first? It was hers. And I said, thank you for being a doctor who told me the truth about alcohol, because I've heard from other people. In fact, I got interviewed by a reporter the other day that said, well, my doctor's fine with my glasses or whatever, how many glasses of wine he has a night. And I know he probably lowered the number to the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to him, I drank just like you. It's called gray area drinking, And so, he was trying to label me and put me in that box too. But, when we get these permission slips from our physicians, it's not good. And kudos to Canada. I saw Ireland is now putting warning
labels
on their bottles.
Yeah. And actually Italy's trying to sue Ireland because they're so upset. They think that they're going to put people at, Ireland's warning is going to put
business. Yeah.
Yeah. So
the Meg, and I'm stealing camera 3. It's interesting the sleep thing, because I always thought I slept better when I drank. You're going to pass out. Of course, you're going to sleep better. Looking back, I used to take it was an over-the-counter called Simply Sleep. You can get it at grocery stores or most pharmacies. It's an over-the-counter. Even as much as I drank, I still took Simply Sleep to sleep. And then I took something for restless leg syndrome, which was also something to help me sleep. And then when I quit drinking, I lost this magical potion that helped me get a full night's. And now I haven't taken that stuff for years.
And it's never a full night's sleep. It's a 3 a.m. anxiety wake up, need to go.
Well, my doctor didn't even know. I mean, my doctor was probably drinking more than I was, but just guessing. But, for me, I got Ambien. So that was just lovely, because that actually was almost harder than alcohol to get off of.
Oh, I'm in the same boat. I know Laura McCohen wrote a piece on it, like calling it like her brain was it felt like Swiss cheese. I cannot take that stuff. I mean, I feel like she said, Swiss cheese. Like I tried to like talk to somebody afterwards being on, and I was like,
not giving it to women. It's a bad drug for women. It's terrible. In fact, my husband asked for someone who went to Hawaii and they only gave him 5. So, I mean, people are getting it.
Wow, they're even cutting back on how much they're giving. Interesting.
Well, we're going to have to wrap it up, but how I know another waiting for your book to be delivered from Amazon. Another Facebook user said, my doctor says when he asks patients how much they drink, he multiplies their answer by 3. Yeah, lots of that. I love the comments in Facebook, you guys. That's been really a highlight for me. Meg's always a highlight for me.
Oh, okay.
How do people that don't have your book get your book?
So they can. Well, I will say that we've almost sold out on Amazon.
Wow.
Books A Million does have some inventory. I do know that they have some inventory online. We are feverishly at reprint. Anywhere books are sold. So there are, bookstores that ordered inventory as well, but it will be back up on Amazon, even if it's, a little bit of a wait. It's still coming.
I have 2. So I will be giving one of Meg's books away at Sober in the City, Palm Springs.
For me?
No, unless you come to Palm Springs, and you said you weren't coming. So no, you don't get one. You have to order one yourself and buy it.
I'll send you one, Jeff.
Yeah. Peggy's still mad because I took her book up to the signing and I said, I love it. And when I opened it, it made that sound that a brand new book that's never been opened made. And,
because there's no pictures. You'll like Meg's because she has a couple pictures in it.
I had to put some pictures of my kids in your book just to give me a reason to read it.
Anyway, I love you dearly. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud you're my friend. And I can't wait when Sober in the City gets on the other side. When we go East Coast, we're going to do some cool things together as well. I love you so much. And
I love you too. Thank you for being my biggest cheerleader, mentor, and guide on this journey. Thank you so much for both of you, for your love and support.
So great having you, Meg. So live from Peggy's bedroom, we're checking out. Meg, thank you so much for being here. And
thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun.
Yeah, hang on. All right. Talk, everyone. We'll talk to you soon, or take care. I'm mixing up some words, but have a great week. Take care. See ya.